Hey guys, it's Clay here with Fina, and I'm back with another tutorial video. In today's quick little demo, we're gonna be showing you guys how to split transactions, how to change the date of a transaction, how to add a note to a transaction, and overall, everything that you could need to know about modifying the small details of transactions. When you come into the transactions tab, you will notice a couple new updates. So when I come here to scroll over any of my transactions, I can open up the card view. Inside of this card view, I'll be able to do a few different things. As I mentioned, the first example is I'm able to actually change the date of any transaction so that this transaction falls into the right date for different reporting purposes. So this is really, really useful for if you've ever paid your rent early and you want that transaction to still fall into the proper month. Or maybe if you get paid a paycheck late, for example, and you want that paycheck to still show up in the proper month that you did the work for. You can come in here to this date. You can select any other date that you want for this transaction. So let's say I want to bump this back a couple days. I can do so. You'll notice that that will actually change where it's at inside the transactions list. It's going to change the date for reporting purposes. So inside of your Fina reports and your pages, please note that this new date is the one that it will be following for where that transaction will be recorded. So the original date will show up in case you ever need to revert this. If I ever need to get rid of that or go back, I can simply obviously see the original date, and then I can come in here and change that, and it will revert back to the previous date. So that's how you change the date of a transaction. Another really cool thing we've added recently is split transactions. This has been a very commonly requested one that we've been working on for a while. You can come in here, you can see the category. You can see it's $4.33. If I click split transaction here, I will be able to select a new category for any of these splits. I can add as many splits as I would like. I can add descriptions to the splits. I can even change the date for that transaction on that split if I wanted to. And then obviously I can change the amount. So let's say I wanted to say, $1 of this was going towards groceries, and then the other $3.33 was going toward restaurants. I can do that. I can write my little description. I'm just going to put test here. I'll go ahead and put save. The way that this will work inside the system is this original transaction has now been split into two. And once this actually loads, what you guys will notice here is we have two new split transactions. We have the one for groceries, and then we have the one for restaurants and other. We put this little icon that says split next to it so that you're reminded that these are split. And then there's also a little note that has the little test description there as well. So if I actually go back and look through my transactions, I'll not see that original transaction. That's not going to show up inside of your transactions list any longer. You can access that original transaction if you want, but we thought it was better to hide that because that's no longer being reported on. These two new transactions have been split, and these are what are going to be added into your reports. So if I click open on any of these splits, you'll notice that these are not editable. That's on purpose. If you want to edit any of the splits, you can click the edit splits button, and it will link you back to that original transaction where, again, you can go ahead and change any of those splits. You can add additional ones, or maybe you want to delete it and you want to go back to the original transaction. You can do that as well. Save the original transaction, and it's like you never did anything. So that's how splits work. Splits are great for a ton of different purposes, like I mentioned. And the last thing that I do want to note on our updates here is that I can add descriptions. So again, if I need additional context, maybe I had an Amazon purchase and I want to note down what I purchased, particularly in that specific shopping with Amazon, I could write a little note here and say, I'm just going to say adding a note. When I add that little note or that description here, you'll notice that we pop up this little icon that you can hover over that just reminds you what that transaction was for, what that note's all about. On top of that, you can also actually filter by those descriptions. So if I wanted to go and actually try to filter by that thing that I just typed, which is adding a note, you'll see that that pops up here as well. So that's really cool. You can add those. And the last thing that I'll mention about transactions and modifying these is you can obviously hide or exclude any of these transactions. So if I click this exclude button right here, we'll put this little eye emoji that says this transaction is being excluded from reporting. Obviously, we want to keep this here so that you guys can see it. These are all of your transactions, but we'll go ahead and hide this for any of the reports. So it's as simple as that. Hopefully you guys understand how to do all these things. If you guys have any questions at all, as always, let me know. One last thing I do want to mention here on the transactions page is you can refresh. You can see the date that the data was last pulled. This is really useful. I know a lot of people have questions about when are their transactions being pulled and how often are these things being updated. So you can see that here. You can refresh it automatically if you want. We pull data as often as we can from Plaid and from the different live connection data sources that we have. However, some institutions and some banks have different rules around when they're pushing the data for us. So we do actually pull data as often as it's available to us. And you'll notice that we also put the pending transactions here. So you'll see this one, it says Tesla US EV charging. It says transaction is pending. So we put this little pending icon here. That pending icon will disappear once the transaction is no longer pending and it's officially posted. So again, we pull as often as possible. You can manually refresh here and you can see the date that the data was last pulled. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Play around with the filters, the date ranges, modifying transactions, splitting transactions, changing dates. If you guys have any requests or have any feedback, please let us know, and hope you guys enjoy. All right, see you on the next video.